In this video, I'm going to go through a bit of the nitty-gritty admin of the course, the boring stuff, but it's you need to know what's required of you in this course, how to get the materials, and basically how we can get you through the course. So we'll start with some resources first that you have access to. Now, first of all, the very first thing you should read is the course profile. So you should be able to see that on the Learning at Griffith site already. That's basically our contract with you, if you like. We're saying what you need to do for us. Okay, so please read that course profile. Learning at Griffith is the #1 resource for you, so check that every day as we'll put announcements up there. Don't worry, the emails will come to you as well from that. But all of our announcements pertaining to the course, important things, will be popped up there. The slides from the lectures, the videos from the lectures, problem sheets and solutions, lab notes, everything that you require for the course is going to be up on that Learning at Griffith website. Also has the Echo Centre lecture capture. This means if you don't make my lecture, then you can watch me boringly on a recording. Now I will point out, those don't always turn out very well. Sometimes the sound's no good, sometimes the video's bad. I definitely do not rely on those Echo Centre lecture captures to be a learning thing. Actually, don't rely on my lectures either, okay? Coming to my lecture and sitting there is not learning. That's part of it. It's 10% of it. The rest is going to be the work you have to do and the scaffolding we have built for you here to get through the course. Now, coming to a lecture is not enough. Definitely watching Echo Centre lecture capture 40-hour movie marathon at the end of the semester, that's not going to get you through. You're going to hate the sight of my face. Okay? See? So don't do that. The other thing is the textbook. Now, this is compulsory. You have to get this textbook. Now, don't worry, it's not going to cost you a arm and leg. I've set it up so that the arm and leg option is probably not the best one. So it's prescribed. We think you have it. We prescribe a reading for you every week from that textbook. You have to do that reading. So again, like I said, coming to lectures is not enough. You're going to have to read the material, do some problems associated with it. Now you can get it from this website. There's a few different options. You can buy the physical one. It's like $200. What a rip-off. Or you can get one for about $60, which is an e-text. And I'll be linking your readings from the Learning at Griffith website to that e-text. That's a pretty useful one to have, I would say. It's better value. And you've got a lifetime subscription to that. So if you like carrying around a textbook this fat, then buy the $200 textbook. If you like, simple, just download the e-text version. I think that's a much better option. There's that website. I've also got a link to this in the orientation section of the Learning at Griffith website, which is down here somewhere, I think, in your orientation. Okay, so some more resources. The study schedule. So if you look on the left-hand side of the Learning at Griffith website over there somewhere, you'll see a series of tabs coming down the left-hand side. The one right at the top, or very close to the top, will be the study schedule. That's where I've put all of the course material. You can just go to a single page and click on all the stuff you need from that page. So you should check that every Monday, or even on the weekend, to see what's due and what readings are required for the week, and what you're going to have to do for the week. Okay, you should be biting off your course in weekly chunks. So try not to get through a week without doing anything. If you've done nothing for the week, it's going to pile up on you for the next week. So just every week, just go, don't say I've got 12 weeks of stuff to do, because you'll freak out. Just say I've got 1 week, these are the things I have to do for this week. A reading, watch some videos, do a couple of quizzes, and you'll just truck along, and eventually you would have got through the course, okay? There's links there for the lab materials, the readings, and also the Wiley assignments are all there. You'll see what they are in a minute. Lectures, starting week 1. So we're hitting the ground running. This is your admin lecture, okay? So you're getting a video version because we are a 12-week semester. We are hitting the ground running with our first lot of lectures in week 1. So get ready for that. So the way I'm structuring this is there's going to be a keynote lecture. This will be me outlining all the main concepts for the week, okay? Now, 1 per week, you have to consult the course timetable on Learning at Griffith to see when these are structured, when they're running. So we start off with a keynote lecture, And we have problem lectures. So there's probably 2 of those a week. Sometimes I'll need two keynote lectures and 1 problem class. So I'll just be alternating between those depending on how we're trucking through the material. Okay? So the problem lectures are really useful because I will have some examples of problems and I'll go through how I would solve them. So that's really useful for you. So the keynote lecture is kind of just glossing over the main concepts. The problem lectures are where you get into the nitty-gritty of doing it. Then these discussion lectures. So they're capping off everything that we've done for the week. I'll give you a tough thing to work on. You might have to work in groups in the lecture theatre and I'll be going around helping you. But this is sort of polishing off, and if you don't understand something, let me know and we can discuss it in that. And that's 1 per week at the end of the week. Okay? So that's the way I'm structuring lectures. I'm not just having you sit there for 4 lectures per week while I prattle on. We have 1 where I prattle on, and then there's 3 where we get into the nitty-gritty of learning. Okay, so it's active learning. It's not just sitting there listening to me prattle on. Okay, because that does nothing for you. It does nothing for either of us. Bores the crap out of me too. Okay, so tutorials. They're commencing in week 2 and they run till week 11. So there's 1 per week. Now check the timetables that I've got in that orientation section for your tute time and your place. So you need to rock up to your prescribed tute and place. And we're going to give you a bunch of problems to work through. You're going to have a tutor to help you there. There's also going to be some online video solutions for the tutes. So if you miss a tute, don't worry too much about it. You can get the online solution. Students that go to tutes do better than those who miss out on. That's the research. The research says that. We've got hard evidence that says if you start turning up to tutes and lectures, you do better. That's just no-brainer. You got to do it. You're paying for it. Okay. It's basically a gold class cinema ticket for every one of these sessions you miss. So don't miss them. Video solutions, like I said, will be provided for all the tutes. Okay, assessment. Scary bit. In future, maybe I won't even have assessment in my courses, but for now, we have to figure out that you're on track and we're keeping you in the right direction. So assessment's the way to do that. That's also a way to make the lazy people do anything, but you're not the lazy people. You are the hard workers. So there'll be a 20% assignment. It's an online assignment. You can't pass the course until you had a go at that at least, okay? Because every week, one of those is going to come out and you're going to have to do it. We'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. And it adds up to 20% over the whole semester. So it's just to keep you trucking along with doing stuff every week. There's 30% of your assessment is laboratory assessment. You can't pass the course unless you get at least 40% of the total lab marks. So if you miss one of the labs, you're going to have to work really hard in the second one to pass the course. So remember, you can't pass the course until you get at least 40% of the lab mark. And that's because labs are important. Doing practical work is important for an engineer, it's important for a scientist, it's important for aviation. We all have to do practical things in our job, okay? And it's just a way of thinking that you have to foster. So we do labs because they're important, not because we want to punish you. Unfortunately, there's a 40% end of semester examination, and you can't pass the course unless you get at least 40% of the marks for that. Now that's just going to be a multiple choice thing. There'll be plenty of practice exams for you to go through. I run a practice session in one of the lectures, and we basically run you through a mock exam. So we'll train you up pretty well for that end of semester exam, but it is a hurdle at the end where if you haven't been doing any work throughout the semester, you are not going to pass that hurdle, okay, unless you're some sort of superhuman. Okay, so do your work, and that 40% end of semester examination will be a breeze. And then it's really important that you reflect on what you're learning. You don't just let it mindlessly go into your brain. You think, why am I doing it? Okay, why am I doing this stuff? I want to be an engineer. I want to be a scientist. I want a career. So you got to weekly reflect on that. Not weekly, as in do it weekly. Do it every week. Okay. So reflecting on this and on what it means to your profession. So what you've learned, how that's going to help you in your job. Okay. So start thinking about this as training for a job, not just another year of high school. Okay. So you'll be professionals now. This will be done in PebblePad. So this is an environment, it's a really exciting environment actually. It's going to be phased into your degree. You're going to see more and more of PebblePad where you can do tasks in there. We'll set you a task to do, and it's related to your employability. So employers want to see you reflecting on your stuff. When you get something wrong, they want to see you going, well, what did I do wrong? How can I fix that in the future? Okay, so really important that you do this. It's only worth 10%, but every week, at the end of the week, Friday, just write something in there. Say, oh yeah, I think as an engineer, I'm going to need to know how to do this. So make sure you do that. That's an important one. It's only worth 10%. You're not going to fail the course if you don't do it, but it's to get you into the habit of being professional about your practice. Okay? Okay. So assignments, they're worth 20%. So a big chunk of your work, but it's what we call cumulative assessment. So you just do it over the semester. I'm going to give you an ungraded one to practice. That should be in the orientation section for you to have a look at. But then there'll be 10 weekly assignments. And they're going to be on the units of mechanics and electromagnetism. Okay? And each one of them every week is worth 2% of the course. So you access those Wiley Plus assignments through the assessment schedule, and multiple places I'll have on the Learning at Griffith website for you to access those assignments. Okay? So you just click on the link and it'll take you there. You do your 6 problems and it gives you feedback on them, and you're done. So every week you do that. It should keep you rolling along. Laboratories. The first lab you do is worth 10%. It's a guided lab. So we show you how to do a lab. So we give you, so to start off with, you download, you print and read out the lab notes that we give you. You watch the online pre-lab videos of the lab, so the demonstration of how to do the lab that my special face is in as well. And then you undertake a lab quiz for that lab. So there's a little online quiz you must do, and you can't start the lab without doing that quiz because it's a preparation thing. That quiz is worth 40% of the total lab marks, so 4 out of the 10 marks you're going to get for the lab. So that's the preliminary stuff. Download, print, read the lab notes, watch the online pre-lab videos, and then do the quiz. So 3 steps. And then you rock up to your lab, and the first lab you do is going to be a 2-hour data gathering session. So we're going to concentrate on how to run an experiment and gather data. So we're not going to worry about processing any data, we're just going to gather the data, and we're going to do it properly. So your demonstrator is going to show you the pitfalls of taking data in an experiment. So you're going to perform the lab and gather the data. 2 weeks later, you have a lab scheduled where you do the data analysis and the report writing session. That's another 2 hours. So it might be you start analyzing it in the lab and you're like, oh man, I forgot to take this measurement, so I can't analyze it, so you can quickly go back and do it. So you've got 2 hours there where you work with your demonstrator to analyze the results and you write your report in that 2-hour session, and you'll get the further 6 out of 10 marks or 60% of the lab mark at the end with your demonstrator. But he's going to guide you through how to analyze your data properly and how to write it up. Okay, I think that's a very good strategy to split those 2 up into 2 sections. So the second laboratory is a bit more interesting. I think this is the way engineering, definitely the engineering department is going to do more of this, and the science department. We're going to start giving you experiential laboratories. So you're probably pretty familiar with this kind of thing from high school, but it's not done very often in university. So this is a laboratory design task, basically, and it's worth 20%. So preliminary, you're going to download, print, and read the lab task sheet. That's just going to have a task on it. So a boss in a job is going to come up to you and say, I want you to do this. These are the things you got, give me this answer. Okay, we're not going to give you step by step, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. The job is going to be, I want this task finished, here's your resources, here's what I want in the end. Okay, so that's more like what this is going to be. So we're going to, a task sheet, we're going to say, we want you to do this. So you're going to download and print and read that early on in the semester. So then you attend these guiding tutorials. So some of your tutorials are going to be based around your experiential learning design task. You can make preliminary calculations and then watch the online tutorials as well that we have associated with that. But turn up to your tutes and we'll start talking about how to complete your guided laboratory. Then you're going to go away and design your experiment. So you're going to do some simulations, some computer simulations. All this is mentioned on the task sheet that will be in the laboratory section on Learning at Griffith. And all the material that we give you to solve this. So you've got to turn up to these tutes, read all the material you've got, do some simulations and design an experiment to complete that task. Okay, so that's the first part, is the design. All of this work that you do, I want you to keep in a hard-covered notebook. So all the calculations, all your design work, all your ideas go into that hard-covered notebook, and you're going to bring that to your lab session. And your demonstrator is going to want to see that you've done some preliminary work before he lets you do the lab. Okay, you can't just turn up to these labs and think you're going to solve it. You're going to have to do some preliminary work building up to it. And we're going to scaffold you through it. So don't worry too much about it through the tutorials. You have to turn up to them though. to have the lectures and the tutorials to know how to do this task. Okay, so please come to them. In the data gathering session, you're going to have another 2-hour data gathering session. You're going to bring your notebook in and your simulations into the session, show your demonstrator. Then you're going to perform your experiment and get the data. Now what's going to happen is your data is going to be different to your simulations, and you're going to have to explain that. So that's your first section. 2 weeks later, in your next session, it might be 1 week, it depends on the schedule, you must check that. You are going to have your data analysis and report writing session, another 2-hour session. And again, we work with a demonstrator, analyze results, and write a report. So this is looking more like how you do a job rather than doing a lab sheet, you know. So this is more how a job is done. Okay, so we will talk more about this later on in the semester when we're coming up to this. We're going to have another little session on how this works. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, laboratory rules. You have to do an induction. This is online. You're going to see it over there. You'll see a big thing saying, you know, on the left of Learning at Griffith, it's going to say laboratory induction. You have to do that. There's a quiz. It's just basically things like, if your head's on fire, do you A, stick it in petrol, B, set fire to someone else with it, or 3, you know, have it extinguished and go and see the doctor. So it's questions like that, you know, just common sense things. Okay, so you have to do that. Print that out. So you need to do that induction, print out the certificate, and bring it to the lab demonstrator. Okay, you will not be allowed to come to your first lab. Very, very important, blah, blah. Do not come to your lab without that certificate. If you don't, you'll be asked to go back out, do it, and come back in, so you've wasted some time. Okay, so really important. You won't be allowed into the lab until you've done that. Okay. Stay in the lab session you're enrolled in. Don't just rock up to anyone. Okay? If you need to go into another lab session, you need to enroll in a new one. So you need to speak to either myself and preferably to our school admin officers to change your lab session. Okay? So make sure you don't just rock up to one. You won't be allowed to do it unless you've been given permission. You have to wear covered shoes in the laboratory. Duh. You know, like if something happens to you and you drop something heavy on your feet, we're in trouble, you're in trouble, and I don't want to see people hurt in my labs. That's the main thing. I don't want to see anyone hurt. You won't be admitted into the lab unless you have covered shoes. You'll just be asked to leave and go and get some, and that's, again, wasting your time. You might take you an hour to get a pair of shoes, okay? So just think ahead of time, guys. Don't just rock up to your classes. Prepare for those classes, okay? Very important. Another thing is you won't be admitted to the laboratory 10 minutes after the scheduled commencement time unless you've got a good excuse, because you stuff around your lab partner, you stuff around the other people, you stuff around the laboratory demonstrators, and you know, it's just annoying. If you do that in a job, you're late for your work too many times, they'll just fire you. Okay, so just think about, remember again, you're being a professional. This Pebble Pad reflective journal I spoke of, worth 10%. It's an online resource where you store pieces of work that you can put in a portfolio to show an employer at the end of your degree. You can say, here's the things that make me employable. You know, not just I did this course, this course, this course. It's like, I learned how to do this laboratory thing. I learned how to write this report. I reflected on my abilities. So that's really important. Every Friday, reflect weekly in the impact of that learning on the development as a professional. Okay, it's in the Pebble Pad environment. We're going to give you a tutorial on how that Pebble Pad works. So every week, I want you to have a look at that, and I'm going to read through it and say, oh, that's a really good reflection, or this is not really reflecting on properly on what you're doing. Okay, so course requirements. This is basically to get through the course. This is the minimum you have to do to get through the course. You have to achieve at least 50% of the total marks of the course. Okay, so you've got to get at least 50% of the total marks. 40% of the marks for the final exam, and 40% of the total possible marks for labs 1 and 2. So that's the requirements for you to pass the course. Now, if you don't manage to do one of those, you can apply for a supplementary assessment to redo one of them. But again, if you have to achieve 50% of the marks for that piece of assessment to pass the course. Okay, so that's the rules behind the supplementary assessment. If you're unaware of all this stuff, have a look at the course profile. It's all in there. Okay, or come and have a chat to me, of course. Feedback, really important for you to get good feedback so that you do something wrong and you can go and fix it. Okay, otherwise, if you're not getting feedback, you're just not going to improve. So that's our responsibility to make sure you get feedback from everything. So the lab quizzes, you'll get feedback on your particular lab from for all the groups. Videos and PDFs you'll get for the lab quizzes. There's a solution to them. You'll get feedback from your labs from your demonstrator at the end of every session. They're going to say, well, you did this wrong, you did this. Your assignments, you'll get hints at Wiley. So you get 3 attempts at each question. At the end, they'll just say, this is a solution, this is how you do it. Or you can just consult me. If you swing me an email about a particular problem, I can get on my iPad and give you a solution and send you one back within a couple of minutes. Okay, so that's the best way is to, if you've got a particular problem with say a textbook problem or something like that, just swing me an email and I'll send you a little video solution. Okay, so good luck. It's not much luck to it, it's hard work. Physics is hard, remember guys. All good things are hard to do. So physics is hard, you're gonna get through it with a bit of work, so good luck. You need to be professional to get through it. If you hand in all your assessment items, you're gonna pass easily. If you're having problems with the course, ask me really early, like within the first week. If you're having a problem, just say, really, I can't do this. I mean, when I did my undergraduate degree, I had a lot of trouble in my first couple of weeks because I was disorientated, I had no friends, still got no friends, but I had no friends. I didn't know, how to get around the course, and I kind of suffered for the first, that made me suffer for the first semester. So I learned from that you go and talk to people to put the structures in place to get you going. I'm going to ask you in week 4 how everything's going. Everybody, I'll say, please feedback to me how the course is going, how I can improve it. I do this thing called stop, start, continue, which is stop doing this, start doing this, or continue doing what you're doing. Okay, so that's you tell me what I should be doing. Okay, we want you all to have a good experience, have some fun here, and the ultimate thing is to learn. So that's what we're all about. If something's not working, let me know straight away. At the end of the semester, or coming towards the end of the semester, I'm going to survey you, and that survey, it impacts on my employability. My bosses look at this and say, well, Adam's doing a good job, or he's not doing a good job. So it's really important we take your feedback very, very seriously. Okay, so at the end of the course, I'm going to ask you to do that for me. Physics is fun. We're here, the whole teaching team here is to make sure that you perform as well as you can, make use of all the resources, practice, 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 and you'll succeed. If you sit around doing nothing, sorry, you're not gonna make it. It's hard. It's a hard course. Keep biting off small bits of assessment. Don't wait until it's too late. That says Gold Coast campus, but we have to beat the Nathan campus. Okay, that's a typo. We got to beat the Nathan campus. We're on the Gold Coast here. We got to beat the Nathan campus because they're trying to beat us. Okay. So, impossible. Is physics impossible? Well, this guy's trying to do a quadruple somersault off a ramp. Now, he's coming down and up to the ramp. What's going to happen? This is some physics happening here that you're going to learn about as well. But is this impossible? No, it's obviously not impossible. He's doing it. Okay? But he's practiced and he's practiced and he's practiced and fallen on his head multiple times, probably almost killed himself a few times, but he manages to kind of land it. So it's not impossible. It's impossible for you to try that straight off the bat. Get on some skis and try that. That's impossible for you. But for him, probable, because he believed in himself and he did the work that's required. Okay? So, this is a scary video of me a few years back. I'm a rock climber and I want to give you a little demonstration of persistence. So I'm trying this very hard rock climb that not many people in the state have done. But that means it's hard. Obviously, I like to take my shirt off and wear a beanie a lot, but I fall a lot and I fail and fail and fail and fail many, many times. So I got frustrated. I had to learn new skills. You can see I get really frustrated here in this one. No! The next one I'm really ashamed of. Okay, a bit of a baby. Okay? But my point there, guys, is that this takes persistence.